Good morning, Kenyans. Welcome to this episode of Voice ya Mraia. Today we are going to focus on mental health and the wellness of our school-going children. As an adult, there's a lot that I'm having to unpack to cope with my life. I really wanted to go to boarding school as a child, and my experiences in boarding school have kind of shaped the trauma that I'm having to deal with as an adult today. Because first and foremost, the punishment was very, very excessive in school, you know. The beatings. I went to a boarding school in Western, and I think people who schooled in the western part of Kenya can relate to these stories because the beatings that we got in schools, all the kind of punishments that we were given were extremely punitive, so to say. And I have developed anxiety, and to deal with my anxiety, I have to unpack all of this trauma. And knowing that I'm not the only one who went to these schools, I believe that there are so many other stories like mine outside here. So today I wanted us to share our stories, and to start us off will be my colleague Asuwa, who's an environmentalist, activist, and also has an experience in boarding schools.
Thank you. So I would say I went to boarding school properly from Form 1. So primary was a little bit flexible, even though I did have boarding, half day. So we were with my brothers at the same school, so they would walk in and get things from home. My mom would come in wherever she wanted to. And we also had a very good school manager who was like motherly and took us through nursery school as well. But there was still that pressure to excel at primary, and I was not just getting it. Like, why are you beating us to just fight this wrong one so that I am beaten? And then it was so extreme. You get 96, 98%, then they beat you. So I couldn't get where that was coming from, that pressure to pass and everyone to get 480. I think they wanted everyone to get 500, which I don't think was possible. So then we went to high school where I think I broke down so many times. I can remember each and every time I broke down. So I went to high school. First day in Form 1, the teachers are like salty, like with a lot of bile. They're like, here we are not going to joke with you. If you joke, we're going to beat you. And we just got here. Like, what wrong did we do? The threats, the fear-mongering, the feeling that here you are in some kind of jail or some sort of paramilitary training. And I usually tell people that the school in the Lake and Western region are like low-key paramilitary training places and low-key concentration camps. So now my experience was a little bit better. My little brother was in boarding from class 4, and in primary he went to a mission school. I have beef with those mission schools because I was Catholic ones. Then after that, they went to a high school in the same region, and I remember they were telling when they went to high school, their friends were like, "Huh? You came from a Catholic boarding school and still came here? Like, do you love yourself?" Because of, like, people can't imagine you have come from there until you have still chosen to come to the same school. Like, a worse environment in the standards for those schools. So I got a lot of violence for that. Particularly chemistry and mathematics were not just my thing. And these two subjects used to eat like our free time. So we used to, lunch hour used to be maths hour. So you have to go eat, come back and do maths. Games time, the same time. No, games time was chemistry. Games time, you you go to the chemistry lab to do your. So I was just like a tourist in the chemistry lab because I was using that as my break. So instead of doing the things, I would go around and use people's values. So if I take 3 people's values, I divide by 3. Then I write those things so that I just walk around the lab so that I can rest. I have been in class from 4 in the morning. We used to be at preps at 4:45. So you have been in class from 4:45 to 4 in the evening. You still need to slash this time for chemistry. Go for supper. After supper, go for maths. Then go for preps. No, you go for maths again. Then go for preps. So we come from the lab. We go to supper. Come from supper. Go to the main hall for another maths contest. Then go for preps. Which still a maths or chemistry teacher would still work and feel like this another one was not enough. You need to take care of this one too. So there used to be mascaning for maths and chemistry and for mocks.
Oh yeah, mascaning.
Yeah, so we used to lie down hapo kwa assembly hall. Then all teachers would come and beat you. Now you can imagine the 03s and 04s. The amount of beating we would get for that. And then there is that the verbal thing, like you're good for nothing, you can't even pass, and stuff like that. We don't even know where you're going to after this place.
You'll not end up, you'll not amount to anything. It was inspection day. So the bedding mistress comes and checks. And so she finds a stain on my bed sheets and she asks about it. So because I didn't know any better, I just apologized. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't think, I thought I washed it well, but I didn't. And she just looks at me and goes like, wacha kuniangalia kwa macho na hiyo sura yako kama ya kifaranga. And I have never forgotten that. And I was in class 7. What? And you know, for a very long time, I would look at myself in the mirror and go like,
ndio kifaranga inafanana.
Naka kifaranga. You know, it wasn't just the physical, it was also the
verbal, psychological,
the mental. And as an adult now, I feel like my mental well-being was sacrificed in school for academic excellence. I would say I did well in school. I was above average, so nilijaribu. But I now have to pay a very high price for that excellence, which is my mental well-being. And you know, we used to think education was the key to success, but alas, someone changed the locks. So I'm wondering, all that violence that I went through to attain academic excellence, that is not even really helpful to me right now. And she was talking about mascaning, and it reminded me of this time that we failed. You know, we did fail. We got 96, 94 in a certain subject, and the teacher was like, do you want your grandmother to come from among her cooking pots and fill in those 4 marks that you've not gotten? So he goes and draws 3 circles on the blackboard. He goes like, put your left hand here, your right hand here, and your forehead in the middle, and start praying the Lord's Prayer. So the minute we went like, our Father, it rained on our backs, it rained canes, viboko za mti ya mapera. And the funny thing is, tulikuanga so looking back, I'm a 14-year-old girl being caned by 5 adults. And I'm thinking, that was violence, because it's the same thing that our cops do on the street when we are protesting. You just see 5 grown men manhandling one tiny lady, and you're wondering, what threat was she posing? You know, like what is so scary? And back in high school, I was so tiny. I was very, very tiny. I was skinny. I was petite. I was childish, and I was looking at these teachers as people who were supposed to protect me. Talk of day ones. So I'm reporting day 1 to Bunyore Girls High School, Bunyore Girls Alumni. Hi. So I'm reporting on day 1, and I've blow dried my hair and I've put a pushback. 90s kids, you know what a pushback is. So I've put a pushback on my head. I'm putting on a biker under my skirt, so I don't have a petticoat. And my mother had bought me very nice blankets because I have joint pains. And it can get really, really cold in Western. So I really need the warmth in order to wake up in the morning and function. And the boarding mistress, I think she looked at me and she just hated me because she goes like, Mama, umeleta mtoto kusoma ama kulala, hizi blanketing ni nzito sana. And he goes like, msichana, toa hiyo bridge kwa kichwa.
Bridge?
The pushback sasa. And ako like, ata na hiyo baika utoe, huku tunavaanga kamisi. And that teacher terrorized me for all my life in Bunyore Girls until I left. I am dealing with anxiety today because of Bunyore Girls High School. That school, the teachers were bad, the prefects were worse. And at some point I was vote for me to be prefect again. I cannot do this life. And every opening day was a tear fest in my house. I would cry the whole night. And it got to a place and I just kept begging my mom and going like, Mom, don't take me back to that school. And she'd go like, ni adolescence inakusumbua. So I now want to bring in Sarah, who's a psychologist, into the conversation so that she can pack this for us. Mental health in schools doesn't seem like a priority, yet we have laws and we have policies. We have a law that says corporal punishment is illegal, but watu wa shule za Western, hello. Did we go through something wrong? Because we are now looked as a generation who's broken.
Well, the truth is, yes, it was wrong. It was very wrong in all senses of the word. Because, for starters, the Constitution says that these schools are supposed to be for the development, academically, physically, mentally, but you get these people there and from day one, like from your experiences, you're beating up those people. You have, like, as in primary, the teacher who had an array of canes for special occasions. Kuna kiboko ya punda, kuna sword, like he had all of those. And you have these kids who are terrified to learn. There is no way this person is going to get anything into their head if they are scared. Yeah? So if on the essence of mental development, Apple 0, there's nothing that you're doing. We thought that it was right because as Africa, we are behind on mental health. Kenya, we are behind on mental health. So we say that we should respect our elders, and whatever they tell us to do, we should do it. So if this teacher is molesting you, if this teacher is beating you up, if they are encouraging a culture of violence in the school, we don't see it as wrong because it is what is ingrained in us that do what they're telling you to do.
Yeah.
So if the teacher says that you have done something wrong, so put your hands, those circles, and you do that and they beat you up, you don't think that it's a wrong thing. And now the effect of it is that we have raised a generation of violence, of violent kids. You see, I was saying to my dad the other time that we're walking on the streets, and you see cops everywhere. You see soldiers everywhere on the streets. So you have a generation of people who are just anxious. They have anxiety from school. They have anxiety from the homes. and now there's anxiety on the streets, and you have people are not relaxed.
Yeah.
And there's very little of progress or development that can happen in such a society, because you're always on the lookout for trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Like anything, something's about to go down. I have to be on my toes. So yeah, there's all that, and we're not saying that we're not blaming them. They didn't know better.
Yeah.
Because they were also raised from that society. The teachers, they were raised up by parents who beat them up. They were brought up in an institution that said corporal punishment is okay. And so that is the same thing that they just perpetuated. So it's just a vicious cycle. And unless it's, the buck has to stop with us.
Yeah.
People need to go for trauma counseling.
I legit believe so, because 2010 going backwards was just, school back then was different. It was,
yeah.
And I remember we used to have this joke in school. Am I even safe saying? We used to have this joke back in school, and we'd say, like, if you can survive Bunyore girls, you can survive the military, you can survive the Nazi concentration camps, because let me tell you, our school was beautiful, the buildings, oh my God, but we had water problems. And there was a truck that would go and bring water, and then mnapewa jug moja, and hiyo jug moja lazima uoge, ufanye manual work na ufue nguo zako, because pia kupatikana na nguo chafu, you're risking suspension. In Bunyore girls, suspension was so common. You see someone missing in class and you're like, kwani nani alienda? Alafu unaambiwa, alipewa suspension. Kwa nini? Alion vibaya. And you're like, anarudi siku gani? Because it was normalized. You could never just sit and be comfortable and feel that you're at a place where you're protected. And that is the irony, because our parents take us to school thinking that the teachers are going to protect us there. But it so happens these teachers are abusing us verbally, are abusing us mentally, they're abusing us physically, they're sexually harassing us, and we don't have that closeness with our parents to then go home and say, like, you know what, this is what has happened. Because then your parent goes like, ni adolescence inakusumbua. And you'd realize that most people don't have a relationship with their parents. I have one with my parents, and at times it's still a struggle. So I can't imagine what it is like to feel like, you're not safe at school. On just your day-to-day life as a human being. So maybe your thoughts on that. I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole, and it's not that we are here to point fingers and put blame, but we're here to break a cycle that has continued and maybe is continuing. I haven't talked to anyone in school recently, but I know I promised myself that none of my children are going to go to a school in Western.
Yeah. The ripple effect is massive, and you just talked about how it's the same way the police do to us. And there was a time I was somewhere, and when our parents had that corporal punishment was banned, it was like, how? Kwa nini imetolewa? Si kama serikali inatupiga hivyo, si wewe kutoka hapa nje polisi anakupiga na sasa mbona mtoto asipigwe? Like, if the government is doing it, then why can't we not do it for our kids? And the ripple effect is so deep. I don't know how I can summarize it, because that pressure for excellence, I still went with it. So now, to make things worse, I also did not pass. So I got below the pass mark. I got a B-. And here, there were like kampunjis for that. So my career teacher was like, you messed your parents so bad, you are going to make them. Some of my primary school teachers called me for meetings.
Oh, wow.
To ask, why the heck did you not pass? Like, how could you do your parents like this? So there was that. You need to explain why you did not pass. And yes, they are taking you to campus, but you need to know there is a price for it, and it is on you because you did not pass.
Because you did not pass.
So then we came to campus. Then lecturers, again, pass are dumb, and now they have to deal with them in campus. So there's a time I am in a lecture hall. I was in an integrated class. I used to like integrated classes because then you can be behind the veil. Like, let's be normal, like the regular students. And then I think she thought there was no module 2 students in the class. So it was like, I gave this exam to module 2 students and they passed. So I know you people are going to pass like even more than they did. Like,
didn't know you were there.
If they passed, you people are going to pass. So I'm not going to set another exam. I'm going to choose you the same one. And I was like, okay. So as module 2s are just dumb kids. Fine. So now then the ripple effect is I put a lot of pressure on myself, especially age 19, 20, 21, 23. Kwanza hapa 21, 22, 23. I put unnecessary pressure on myself to excel in school, to juggle, to make sure I am not dependent on anyone. Like, ndio nisishinde nikiambiwa hata hukupita, sasa hata usitusumbue. What are you telling us? We've done you a favor. So I was trying to go away from that. So I have strained through campus. I had to take a break in 2017, and I didn't. You're going to defer, like you write a letter. I didn't do that. I walked out of campus and went and said I'm not coming back to campus. So eventually I came back. Like, people would meet me and they're like, "You're not coming to class?" I'm like, I really don't care at this point about when I will graduate or anything like that, because there is the burden of school fees. There is the burden to excel. Then you also need to take care of yourself, food, things, and stuff like that. So there was an unnecessary pressure. Sikuwa nalala, by the way. There were days I would pass out. Like, there's a time I woke up in the hostel, showered, did everything, and then when I sat down to unplug my phone, I just passed out.
Wow.
By the time I was waking up, it was in the evening. I had not gone to class. I was supposed to go to work and then come back for the afternoon class. I had not done any of this. I had not eaten, and still I didn't have the strength to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And it was because of this training. I was coming out of class, going to work, class, work, class, work, class, work. And then because you want more money, I go overtime. So by the time you're back, it's 10, 12. So my mom would be like, I don't find you on phone anymore. I don't even know if you are in school. Tell me the truth. Are you in school? I'm only watching. And I'm like, I am in school, but I just have to juggle. So 2017, I walked out of a lecture hall. Lecture hall ilisha, na nikatoka, na nikaenda. I came back in 2018, but nilikuwa kama ndege.
Autopilot.
Yeah, you're in class, you sleep in this friend's place today, the next day you sleep in another place. So that people don't have time to interrogate and ask what's wrong with you. Because clearly there's something wrong with you. Because you're always on the move. So this year, last year towards this year, it was my brothers who actually sat me Yeah, and told me, okay, we understand you grew up too fast, but since you need to slow down.
Breathe.
But even at that point when they were starting, I was looking at them like, I'm in English, and I'm like,
I know.
who are you talking to right now? My my youngest brother was like with 60 bosses. So many jobs I was juggling in between. You just
Clearly your
with
plate is
you with your 60 bosses, please like take a break. Weekend, enda tu mahali ukae utulie. So they were like my first therapist.
Oh yeah.
So this year I have learned to like slow down and take things at a time, and she's very difficult. And I think all firstborns can relate. All deputy parents. It is very difficult to come to a point of okay, now I need to think about myself. Like put yourself before every other
people.
person. I'm really still struggling with that. Sometimes the boys are just like "Niko sawa, like mimi nimeenda job nitarudi, like you just relax, just sleep if you need to, if you want to go out, go and walk." So that's the ripple effect of the pressure, you know, to excel and the blackmailing.
Yeah.
Like, when you people are not supposed to do these things, like you're not supposed to take us to school. Like it's a big deal. You have to remind us that we took you to school. Kwanza haukupita. Mimi ndio nimefanya ukaenda kupita.
It actually breaks someone down, having to constantly hear such kind of criticism that's actually not positive. But I'm definitely sure we can do it better. There are different ways that children can go through the education system and not have to recover from the education system, because we are a generation that's recovering from the education system we went through, and we are trying our best. And you see, it made us believe that first of all making a mistake is wrong. And I so one thing that I am very, very keen on is just allowing myself to fail. Like it's okay to make a mistake. That's how you learn. That's how you move forward. But then it still is perceived by society like making a mistake is a bad thing. That's why the first reaction is always violence. When you call the government out, they respond in violence. When you talk about your rights to the cops, they respond in violence. When and Generation Y and Generation Z will understand this. When you want to express yourself to your parents, they respond with violence. It might not be physical violence, but probably verbal violence. They shut you down, so you don't have that safe space to go to anymore. And then we grow up with a fear of our parents, and when we are adults, they all of a sudden expect us to be friends. We've not been friends for the past 30 years. What makes you think you're going to be friends now, Jessica? So it's a bridge that has to be mended. But even as a parent, if my child is going through something in school, I would want to be able to know. So what are some of the signs that maybe children will exhibit when they're under a lot of stress or pressure, or just not at a good place mentally, that parents can take note of?
Okay. The one thing that people have to understand is that mental illness is not like physical illness.
Yeah.
They are invisible signs. Yeah. So, and the things which tell you that this person is struggling, they're the things that we call this person is acting out. Like, say, for kids, you'd find that the child becomes violent towards other kids. Your baby becomes, okay, not baby, your child becomes violent towards child, but you want to sit down with this kid and find out what is different. Maybe the kid is being bullied in class. So their only other reaction is to bully somebody else. Yeah? Okay, and even kids who molest other kids, they're probably being molested by somebody else. So I've jumped to the extreme. We're talking about the invisible signs. If you find that your child is acting out in violence, if you find that your child is sleeping more and has become lazy all of a sudden, depression makes you lose interest in activities. So that loss of interest in activities will be interpreted as laziness. But you want to find out what is different with my child. What are they going through that's different? Eating more or eating less? Are they performing better? You know, those are the major things. You want to find out, because as parents maybe we think that kids should act this way. And but then there's no manual and there's no blueprint for how these kids, every child is different. And so you want to study your child from when they are if you see that there's something different to this child, reach out to them, come to their level and talk to them. Because at the end of the day, yes, parents do not want, they only want the best for you. But sometimes you don't know what's best for me. If I come to you and say, Mommy, I need to change schools, don't tell your child that no, you must go to that school because it is the best school in the district. I have paid so much money for you to go there. That is the best school. It has all these facilities that are going to encourage your development. No, you want to find out why, how come. Maybe that child is being bullied. Maybe the child is be the reason for them being beaten. I'm a pata. Me, I was that student who are 20% for maths because I just can't. I just can't. Maths will give me numbers even up to now. My brain just short circuits. Now you beat me because I got 20%. What if mathematics is not my strong suit? But I get very good marks in humanities and languages and help me to understand instead of beating me. Now this child is being beaten by the parents, is being beaten by the parents for failing in school, is being beaten by the teachers for failing. And so they decide, I'm just not even going to bother. You want to find out what has happened. Maybe this child is being molested at school. Maybe they are being abused by teachers. Because you find out that from our generation or from back then, there were teachers who were molesting kids and sexually abusing them. You go tell your guidance. I remember a group of us went to our guidance and counseling teacher and we told them, and she said, it was a lady, and she said, it is your fault. How is it my fault that a teacher has seduced me and has done bad things? How is it my fault?
And you're a child.
I'm a child. I am all of 12 years old. What do I know about seducing? And if a child is acting out in molesting behavior, they have seen it from another adult. So you want to sit down with your child and see these things which are different. My child no longer wants to wake up in the morning for school. What has been happening? My child is beating up other children. What is different? What is wrong? And then sit down with them and find out, how can I help you? Come down to their level. Like nothing will go wrong with you coming down to your child's level and trying to understand them. Because a child will not tell you, Mom will not outright, most children, they won't come outright and say, Mom, Dad, is trying to reach out to you to come to a safe space, then they can tell you, this has happened to me today. So if you're not making time for your children, then you are just continuing with the vicious cycle, and you're making worse the symptoms, because then they know that I cannot trust my parents. And I cannot trust my teachers.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah and Asuwa, for coming here today. From personal experiences and from what you've shared today, if you're a parent and you had a child who went to school from 2010 going backwards, we need healing. We are not a violent generation. It's the trauma that we went through manifesting as the violence. Sarah said something about the physical signs that you can see. For me, I know when I'm overwhelmed, like I'll cry. I'll just cry. It doesn't matter if I'm in the middle of the CBD, I'll cry where I am. And if I'm not crying, then it comes out as a very bad, angry outburst. So I have a support system, and I'm grateful for this. And I go to therapy, and I think we all should. But one form of therapy is sharing. If you've gone through this, and I know a lot of us have, please share your story with us. We'd like to hear from you, so that we can start healing as a generation and move forward, because there's hope. It's not all lost. It's not something that can be undone, but we can do better going forward. I want to say thank you to Cafe Deli today for hosting us here. If you're in the CBD and you need a bite or a drink or a coffee, please pop in and support the business. You'll be supporting us in return, and we are really, really grateful for you guys hanging out with us today. See you on the next one.